Hello. So I said that I was working on this dress and I said that I was going to trace out the pattern. And if you can see, I've done that. I traced the size 24 line, but up here at the shoulder, I traced the size 18 line. So what did I do next? I traced it, and I also transferred the marks. You can see the red pen. Transferred all the marks. You notice my lovely pattern weights. Great pattern weights here. So, wonderful pattern weights that I got from the hardware store. So, what did I do next? Let me just give me a second to remove all my pattern weights. I'm sorry for any shaky video. I'm not an expert production. So the next thing I did was I marked my size, my edition. If you notice, like, why do I need to mark my size, you might say? Why don't you just go and kind of cut kind of sort of in between those two sizes? Well, for one thing, my bust is kind of between the 24 and the 26. It's not quite 24, not quite 26, which means that in the design, it'll be way baggy, but if I just do 26. And for another, my hip is still bigger than a 26, so I can't just cut out a 26. So you still always need to learn how to fit your pattern. It's just a good idea. So what you do is you mark out that I need to add, and I only needed to add a quarter. So I need to add a quarter. This is the whole bust, right? The whole bust is right here. Quarter, and down right to here, because this is the bust dart. This part gets folded into the bust dart, and then under the bust, because this is an A-line dress, under the bust it flares out. So this, even here, needs to be out, measured out. If you can see that it's measured out. So this is a quarter, roughly a quarter, even down here, quarter. And then you go down to your next part and you go, it needed to be 3/4. And it's not quite, but it's close enough because it's fit and flare. And it's really close. It's just shy of 3/4. And I know at the hip I needed 3/4. And then it's an A-line. So you have two choices. You can either pivot back in and have it meet, like if it's a lot, and if you add it, it's really going to be a big problem. What you can do is you can sort of make a gradual, you went out and then you kind of came in. But this is an A-line dress, right? So if these were pants, you would absolutely want to do this because otherwise your pants would be huge. But if I did this in a dress that's this short, it might look a little odd. The other option is to go straight down, like just go straight. If this is a shirt, you can go here, and I know that my slit opening here, and then gently curve it and go down. This is your style design ruler. And I needed this because I needed to redraw the armhole. So I set the ruler at 13, and I had it meet up here. 13. And I pushed it in as much as I could go. And that's how I did the armhole. because you need to make this look like an armhole. It can't come in. If it comes in too far, it'll be really weird on your bust. So 13, push it in, because it's like from 13 to 26, this is your bust. And you make it look like the armhole. Curve it, and then you kind of just flatten it out. And then I wanted to add 2 inches at the bottom. And then I just used my ruler to connect the dots. I hope you can see that. Just connect the dots and make the lines. Then I need other lines, like if I want this to be more of a dress with a slit on the side, here's a slit opening for future use. So how does this look compared to the original pattern now? You know, why did I need to do this? Why didn't I just do the 26? Let me put the original pattern back down. All right. Sorry, I'm making everybody seasick. Now that I have my original pattern back down, you can see I wanted the 18 because my shoulders are narrow. If I've gone too much farther out, it gets really wide. Plus the neck hole is different. So I want the 18 in the shoulder because my shoulders are narrow. I have to redraw the armscye according to that to meet up with my new drawing. And my new black line, if you can see, is between the 24 and the 26. So that's not going to work, right? I can't just do a 26 because it'll be too big. Go in here again, almost at the 24 line, but not quite. And then as I flare out, I actually kind of redid it because my hips would have still required probably an adjustment even at the 26 size, because I just got those big hips. And then I flared it a little bit more, so it'll be just a little bit wider down here. And I lengthened the pattern an extra 2 inches. And so my flare follows the pattern nicely for that length adjustment. Do you see the length adjustment? So it's not much of a flare, but it is a little bit of a flare adjustment. And it does follow the pattern just a little bit. So it's not quite a 26. And if this had not had that 26 size, you wouldn't have had that option anyway. So I fall kind of between those two sizes. So in order to have a bust fit correctly, I start with the 24. And then the 26 wouldn't quite have been right either because I got those, childbearing hips. And keep in mind that these sizes are just numbers. They don't match anybody's thing, and people like their clothes sized differently. So this is supposed to be a loose, flowy dress. And it may be that I go through all this trouble and I may find I don't like it after all. So this paper is really inexpensive. It's way less expensive than the pattern paper, right? By doing it this way, I can also adjust this pattern a lot easier than if I were to cut into this. I don't know, I have a mortal fear of cutting into my actual paper patterns. But, and now that I've transferred all the markings that I want, written down relevant facts, now I have this, written which pattern piece it is, that ABCD with dart, cut one unfold. This is the fold line, bust, waist, hip. This is waist plus 6 is this slit opening if I want to slit. my back, and then this note to myself, the back waist is shortened. The finished waist is 36 because I shortened it. It would have been 39, but it's shortened. So then I added another, so I want like 38, which is knee length. This is the BC length of the pattern. It asks for a 1 1/4 hem, which is 5/8 plus 5/8. So 5/8, turn it up, hem it again. You need to redraw the dart. Remember that there's a dart point. Connect the lines, and we'll worry about that later. In the sewing part, when you redraw the armscye, you have to make sure to put this connector in there too. This is maybe the hardest part, is redrawing the armscye. It's not that hard if you have that nice, I don't know what they call it, a French curve or something. I got that a long time ago. Make sure you have all of your markings on this pattern. Now I've got this one done. I need to do the back and the sleeves, but that's how I do it. I draw the original one, then I add my markings of where it needs to be adjusted, connect the dots, and I use this one. My mom, in all her expertness, does this straight onto the fabric when I was growing up, and she would just chalk up the fabric like this. Like, there's the original size, and then mark it onto the fabric, and she would just go. I'm not that confident, so I'm going to fit this paper first before I start sewing. I'm going to do the paper pattern fitting before I actually go for it. But that's an idea of how to fit a pattern. You know, you take, and you might ask that, how the heck did you know how much you need to add? So I'm going to go through it here. This is my page of maths. So the pattern had a bust of 46, 39, 48. I have a bust of 47, waist of 42, hip of 51. The difference is 1, 3, and 3. There are 4 cut seams. There are 4 cut edges of cloth that will have measurement added to, right? 2 front sides and 2 back sides. So you take those measurements in this pattern and divide it by 4. So 1 divided by 4, add 1/4 inch. At the waist, 3 divided by 4, add 3/4 inch or 6/8. Now sleeves only have 2 cut edges, right? They have just a left and right side. So you would take that +1 at the bust, and it becomes half to each side, because the armscye up here has to match the sleeves, right? Because this is where the sleeve connects. This has to be a total of 1 inch larger for the sleeves, right? Anyway, so you will figure it out as you go. As you go, you figure it out. But the sleeves have to be half larger and half larger. If that makes sense. You don't have a 1/4 and a 1/4 and a half and a half. You will see it when you sew it. But and sometimes it's nice to have I have larger arms, so I always want to add extra to the sleeves anyway and ease it in. So if that makes sense. Probably doesn't with the sleeves, but probably there's other better videos on fitting sleeves. I hope you find that helpful. Someone's probably going to correct me about sleeves, but I have my own weird way of doing sleeves because I have very large arms, like massive biceps, because I lift my son up all the time, and I used to be a swimmer. So I think my arms are maybe a little bit more muscled than a lot of people. So I tend to make my sleeves a little larger, and then I ease in at the sleeve cap. And it doesn't make the sleeves puffy or something, so you ease it in correctly. Anyway, I hope you find that helpful.